years ago, very early on in my channel's history, I featured a brand called Ginault and their Ocean-Rover. The Ocean-Rover is essentially an homage to the Rolex Submariner, a very well-made homage to the Rolex Submariner. Today, we're featuring another watch from the brand called the Silent Service, and this watch is another homage to the Submariner. However, they've stepped up the game here and they've changed a couple of elements that make it a little less of a direct homage to the Submariner. So let's flip the camera and take a look at the Silent Service. Ginault are calling this the Silent Service. I have to say, I really like that name. They put it on the dial right there in red. I'll do a close-up so you can see what I'm talking about. Really cool name, I like it. Now, Ginault take tons of inspiration from Rolex. I think that's no secret. All of their watches are basically an homage in one way or another to Rolex. This is definitely an homage to Rolex as well. However, there's some elements that are a little bit different. I'm going to start with the bezel. The bezel action is excellent on this watch. We'll listen to that in just a second, but you do have a sapphire bezel insert. So what they've done here is put a sapphire bezel insert. You do have a stainless steel bezel and it is heavily lumed. You have a sapphire crystal, which is raised off of the bezel, as you can see, which looks great. And then you have these maxi indices on the black dial. You have a black sort of satin finished dial. Those indices have a silver surround and they are heavily lumed with BGW9. You have a giant triangle at the 12 o'clock, which is just huge. It's a really big design element of this dial. Then you have a sword hand, which is very large as well, fence post hand for the minutes, and then a red seconds hand with a lollipop. All of those are loomed. So the Lume Shot on here is excellent. This is very, very bright. You have 300 meters of water resistance. You have a big, grippy, signed screwed-in crown. It has the Ginault logo right there. You have a case that is very reminiscent of a very famous watch, as you can see. From the sides of the watch, lots of inspiration from the Submariner. You have an oyster-style bracelet, very large screws. It is all brushed. You have polishing on the sides. The buckle, also heavily inspired, as you can see, and it is not signed, which I'm a little bit surprised by. I thought it would be signed. It is not. However, you do have a micro adjust on here, and the micro adjust works really well and is actually very, very smooth. Actually, one of the most smooth micro adjusts that I have experienced on a micro brand. You do have big screws as well in the bracelet. I do want to mention that. Better than Christopher Ward, better than Zelos. This is amazing. And it's really solid feeling. Clicks really nice. You could hear that. Really well made. Obviously, it is heavily inspired by a specific brand's buckle, but that being said, they did a good job in recreating it and it looks and feels really good. Now, if you are okay with that, this is a really awesome watch. Let's listen to the bezel action. The bezel action is awesome. It sounds like a tank. It's very, very precise. The clicks are very audible and precise. There's no crunchiness. Everything lines up. It feels just tight enough and it's very, very grippy. I have to say I am very, very impressed with the bezel action on this watch. Overall, the quality of the bracelet and the case, everything is really beautifully finished and feels way more expensive than it actually is. The case itself has polishing on the sides, sort of a mirror polish, and then you have brushing on the top. You have a chamfered edge with a very sharp transition. The case back itself is just a screwed-in case back, and it says Ginault on it. Nothing too crazy and has a little bit of brushing in the middle. Now this is powered by a Selena movement. They say it's in-house regulated for 6 weeks, and it's an elaborate version of the Sw200. Now, when I do close-ups of the dial, you're going to see at the bottom of the dial, it says hand built in America. That is because they actually do build these or assemble these watches here in the United States. Obviously, the case and the components, I believe, are sourced. And obviously, the movement comes from Switzerland. So there you go, something to keep in mind. I believe that the regulation happens here in the United States. If I am wrong, I will put something in the description, but I believe they do hand regulate these here in the United States. Let me quickly throw it on my wrist, and then we'll do a quick lume shot. I'll also do some measurements. Actually, let me do the measurements really quickly. I think this is around 41 millimeters. So I measure around 40.6. Thickness on here is just about 12 millimeters thick, so 12.2. Big crown, 7 millimeters, which is excellent. You do have male end links on here, 47.8, and then at the bracelet, so the effective lug to lug, 50.6. A very nicely sized watch and wears very comfortably at that. I've actually been wearing this. I sized this for my wrist and I immediately started wearing it. Today I have on a Citizen watch. This is actually a very large watch. It's around 46 millimeter. This is the Dive mechanical watch. It's a very hard watch to get on and off. And I'm going to throw the Ginault silent service on my 7.5 inch wrist. And you can see, you can get an excellent fit with this watch because of the added micro adjust. You could get a really good fit on here on the fly. Obviously you remove a link or two and then you get it down to where your wrist would fit, and then you adjust with the micro adjust, the on the fly micro adjust, which works really well. And there you go, 7.5 inch wrist. This is basically a 40 or 40 millimeter watch. I think it's like 40 millimeters at the case, 41 at the bezel, but almost 41, not entirely. And it wears like that. It wears very similar to, the watch that it's sort of homaging. So very quickly, let's do a lume shot, and then I'll talk about price as well. So this is a very impressive watch, especially when you consider the price is around $1,000 right now. So this is the no date version. I think they're charging $1,000 for this, or $1,039, something like that. And then up from there, you get the date version. I think it's $1,190 or $99, something like that. And then up from there, it's another $100 if you want the Cyclops. Obviously, this is the route that I would go, the no date version. The only problem that I have with this watch is that it has a ghost date position. So if you're not okay with that, obviously this is not the watch for you, but this does have a ghost date position. That's my only complaint about this watch. There's a little bit too much text on the dial, but besides that, I think this is a pretty amazing watch, especially the quality. If you like the look, the quality is there. This is a very, very well made watch. Much better than most micro brands out there. Actually, way better than most micro brands out there. It's impressive. It's actually an impressive level of quality. The price, I think, definitely is justified, and I think it's a really good value. Lots of lume on here. As I mentioned, you have tons of lume in the bezel. You even have a triangle in the bezel. You have that big triangle on the dial. The hands are very liberally applied. The indices are very liberally applied. And of course, you can see that bezel is as well. Excellent. Lume is not cheap, and obviously they did not go cheap with the lume on this watch. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about homage watches in general. I think this is a really good looking watch that is not really a direct homage to Rolex. It's a little bit different, and those little things that they have done to change it make it look awesome. And obviously, like I said, the quality is definitely there. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this watch? What do you think of Ginault in general? Tell me down in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.